Inspiration for poetry can be a wave of emotion. The ripple effect can lead to inspiring others. I talked to my friend Paula about creating narratives, building characters, and the healing power of poetry.
If the cage bird sings and then the mouse must freestyle. What's up, Resist? How y'all doing tonight? This is some ramblings, but it started off as a letter to a black woman experiencing anger in the workplace. Which was it? Did someone confuse you taking out your braids for cutting your hair? Were you asked to do a project and someone responded, well, I was hoping you'd focus on a more universal aspect and not just how black people feel about the matter? Or did someone ask you what you were eating, wearing, reading, listening to, smell like, smell of, as if anything and everything you do is a cultural display of being black in America? Being black in an office space is indicative of that. It's little America, and when I'm angry here, it's treason or an act of terrorism. Everyone is terrified if I'm angry, as if my type is known for blowing up shit or throwing things in anger or slamming doors. I don't even slam doors in my own home. And I don't even slam doors in my own home when I'm alone for fear of my mama's wrath, and she don't even live there.
I'm really, really excited. You're one of my favorite people.
Thank you.
I think you're super talented. And one thing that I appreciate is that you do a lot of things, right? But let's talk about Paula as an artist. Like, how would you describe your artistry?
So I would describe my artistry very simply, I think, where everyone starts. I feel like sometimes I'm still at that space where I am just writing about what I feel. And I put it out there, as vulnerable, as scary, as honest as it is, knowing I may get a call from somebody asking, are you talking about me in this poem or story? Yes. But I have to do that. I'm still in that space where I just really try to write from what my heart feels.
Your work has always been very honest, very vulnerable, very detailed, and full of a lot of imagery. Was poetry the first love?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess it was reading. So I just did a whole lot of reading, of course, and anything I could get my hand on, books that, I probably shouldn't have had at the age I was reading it. But that ultimately turned into me wanting to express myself in the same way I was seeing things written down. I always loved short stories and storytelling, but it was very much poetry first. And that is normally because it was in the height of that emotion, me trying to express what I was feeling on paper. My mom was a poet, my grandmother's a poet, so everyone in the family did it, and I knew to do it too.
Paula Gillison Akinwole's work has never been limited to poems. She is an internationally recognized blog that contains her fictional work as well. In addition to being a writer and performer, she is a teaching artist that conducts writing workshops for youth and adults. Paula takes participants through theme writing workshops to encourage using writing as a therapeutic process.
Talk to me about that transition into moving into fiction, into moving into short stories and or the blogs. Yeah. What's all that been like, and how is that writing translated, or is it a lot of it the same?
It very much is the same for me. It was a natural progression, just sort of expressing myself and my thoughts and my feelings and the things that were going on in my mind. And oftentimes with my short stories, even the ones that are speculative fiction, that might have monsters and ghosts and aliens in them are the feelings that I'm feeling and thoughts that are coming from my mind. And if someone felt alien to me, then in the story they were an alien. Or if someone's presence in my life just felt haunting, then they became a ghost in my stories. And so anyone who knows me personally will be able to sort of see a lot of that imagery. I'm just sort of telling my own life story, my own experiences in my short stories in a setting that may be otherworldly or even another dimension, but ultimately it's still very much my story and me expressing just what I feel. I don't know if my husband knows how scared I am all the time. I think I hide it from him and am still kind of hiding it from him because there was no easy way to bring it up on our first date. Oh, me? I like weird foreign coffees, I write poetry, and I have this crippling anxiety that will disguise itself as a fear of leaving the house and instead watch Netflix and chill. In all fairness, he didn't tell me how full of himself he was on our first date either. So we fell in love, got married, and now we try our damnedest not to project that on our kid. Speaking of kid, that makes the anxiety way, way worse. Like how the fear of not rolling down the car window at night on back roads becomes the terror of trying to raise a monster baby if the zombie apocalypse started while I was at Walmart, and by the time I got home, they had already bit my baby and eaten my husband's brain. And yes, in this scenario, the husband may die, but not the baby. Not the baby, because I've already been through that.
Now you've taken that process and now you've turned it into a whole teaching artist, right? Where now you're walking emerging writers, seasoned writers, young writers through this process as well, or are you covering some multitude of different things when you are now workshopping and putting yourself into this like space as a facilitator or an educator?
So if I'm working with students that may be new to writing altogether, let alone a form of writing like poetry or essays or trying to express themselves, then I actually like to start with questionnaires versus a prompt. So the question may be, what is your favorite smell? Most people don't have an answer to that. They don't think about it often, but they have to sort of sit down and think about it. And it may be, my grandma's gingerbread cookies. And so when writing that answer down, now they have stories that are forming in their head about the times they had the cookies or stories about their grandmother. And typically from those answers, we can pull out a story or two or a poem or two to start working on. The challenge, using your imagination. Okay, mark of a true writer. Erasing and start.
What do you feel like shows up most in your work as far as like poetic devices?
I love the word metaphors, and I think it's because it just shows up the most. Just sort of trying to find words, expressions, feelings, thoughts to express what it is that I'm feeling or writing about. And so, I don't want to just say I feel sad. I just feel like paper bag floating in the wind, stealing that from Katy Perry, or whatever random metaphor that may be. The answer is metaphoric devices are probably what I use the most. I just sort of like to kind of draw from different life experiences and compare them.
One of the questions I get all the time in interviews is, who are you writing for, right? And I'm like, I'm writing for me first.
Yeah.
I'm 20 years in, we've been writing since we were kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm still writing for me first. Now, what I happen to share helps you, fantastic, right? We've built this connection, which is what it's about, right? That sharing process is about building those connections and helping somebody feel seen. I want to feel seen.
There are times I've gotten on the stage with very fresh, raw, scary, I wrote it 20 minutes ago while crying work, and it was not ready for the audience. But at that point, there was no audience. It's almost like it's me on stage and me in the audience, and I'm just talking to myself and releasing it for myself. And just sort of reminding myself that I'm here, that I'm alive, and that I deserve to be here and alive.